The depression I experienced in 2017 that led me to my suicide escapade. And people don't really know this, but I missed PVC gum, sniper and PVC gum, and I drank it. At that point, I look at my future. People will say I look at my future, it is bright. I look at my future, nothing was bright.
Nothing was bright.
So what is there to live for? And that is the issue with this thing called depression and suicide. It's zoom the problem in your eyes. There's nothing you can see apart from the problem. So you can look at your future. At that point, I was telling my younger brother, I said, look, I could not wait to spend another 1 more second with the way I was feeling. In fact, I had run out of favor with my parents. My siblings had began to disrespect me. I dragged my family name to the mud. I had no reputation to protect again. It was so bad. It was like a public disgrace. A lot of things were involved. I could not stand up to my immediate family, not to talk of standing up to people outside. I could not bear that feeling again. I could not stand another minute feeling that way. So I felt like, instead of living this way, let's end it. That's what the Spirit always. After this is always a smooth path to take. Just transit to glory. Just transit and go on. So I was prepared to I took my bath that morning. If I'm going to die, let me die clean. I was prepared. I missed the stuff. I drank it, and I was expecting death to walk into the room, but it was Father God that walked in. As we move about our daily activity, partner with empathy and look at people beyond the smiles and look into their face and see into their soul and be able to help them process their grief sometimes. Be able to look at them and say, like, how are you? Somebody said, people will just say fine. A friend of mine said, when you ask somebody how are you and they just say fine and just end there. See, the word fine there means feelings inside, not expressed.
Welcome to Inside Gospel. We are still on the series Depression, and right here with me I have someone so special and so important in the studio. I have the person of Coach Philip, and he will be talking about depression today. What he knows about depression, if he has gone through depression, his experience with people that has gone through depression. We're going to be discussing a lot today in the studio. So without wasting your time, let's go straight to it. For some weeks now, we've been talking about depression, and we've tried to make this known to people that depression is real. Some persons never believe in the reality of depression. So I would like you to tell us, how real is depression?
Depression is as real as the people sitting here on the studio. It's very real. I don't want to believe there's anybody out there who that's the reality of depression. At one point or the other, I think, not just my story, I've met people, countless people who have been depressed, some who are still being depressed. So depression is real.
Okay. You just heard from Coach Philip. Depression is real. He has heard from a lot of persons he has coached, and he said depression is real as we sitting down here in the studio. So I want you viewers out there to know that depression is real, and follow us as we talk about depression. Right. So Sir Philip, this word depression, how will you describe this word? How will you explain this word depression? Because I believe many are going through depression, they don't know what they are going through. Like we talked about last time, that you don't expect a little child to know that he's going through depression. You just know there's something in his life that is making he or she feel worthless. But how will you describe this word depression?
I think I like the word worthlessness. Let me start from there. For me, again and again, it's deep, and I like saying deep recession. That it's deep, and then you are fermenting down. Things are going down. Your emotions, how you feel, your sense of self-worth, your sense of security, your how you interpret love. In fact, your relationships.
I would like you to come from that point and be audible so that these people will hear you very well. Okay. From that part where you talked about deep and...
Okay, I love to say it, deep recession. In economics, they say recession is when the economy is going down, plummeting down. So I like to relate that to our emotion. So it's deep and it's in recession. So your emotion is deeply going down from how you interpret love, from how you interpret your sense of self-worth, from how you interpret your relationships. Everything around you seems to not be making sense.
Okay.
All right, so you are down emotionally, you are down sometimes even spiritually, you are down in your spirits. Everything just seems like it's going down, just like Nigeria economy is going down at the moment. So I like to see depression as a state where you feel a sense of worthlessness, you feel sometimes hopeless, and you are generally down on every side.
Okay, you're generally down. When you're down on every side, it means depression. It means if I'm down on every side, it means I'm depressed.
Yes, you can be depressed financially.
You know, it's the common one happening to young guys now.
Yes, so most young men are depressed financially.
So should we say depression is into different sections of life?
There are different sections of life. You can be depressed in your emotions. You can be depressed in your finance. As a matter of fact, a country economy can be depressed.
Wow.
Yes.
A country economy can be depressed. I like that one. Okay, now, you said depression can be classified into different phases of life, maybe financial, emotion, and all that. It means if I'm emotionally depressed, can I still go ahead doing my day-to-day activities that regard finance?
Okay, it depends really. I need you to understand that emotions drive performance.
Okay, emotions drive performance.
So what I mean by emotions drive performance, if you are down emotionally, how you do all that things will be affected. Do you understand? So if you are not hyperactive, if you feel low, your sense of self-worth is low, it begins to reflect in how you do all that things. How you go about your daily activity, how you relate with people. So basically, I think that word emotion sums up a whole lot of things, because in your business, you have to connect with people emotionally. In your relationships, you connect with people emotionally. So if you are depressed emotionally, it affects every other thing that you do.
This is a nice one. Okay, going further, I have some questions here with me which I'll be reading out them by expecting you to do.
Oh, I can answer these questions. So I feel like I'm on a hot seat right now. But let's get there.
Okay, sir. No, you don't have to be on hot seat. It has been your work.
Okay, let's get to it.
For someone that is depressed, how can the person actually know that he's depressed?
Okay, I take a clue from my life. Oftentimes when I am depressed, I've been depressed several times. I've had series of experiences, series of times when I have been depressed. And this is how I know I am depressed. First, I become distant from what seems to be what people term as love.
Okay.
Do you understand? So from some of my relationship, this guy called depression just seems to be a way where it separates me from key associations. So I'm often alone. And there is often no zeal to want to connect or do anything. So most of the time, I just want to stay indoors, eat, make sure the room is dark, and just sleep. I turn off the notification. In fact, I freeze the social media app. There is no zeal to connect. And sometimes I feel like they will not understand me. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Often that I might not be able to explain it exactly what I'm going through, but I just know that I'm down generally. And if you ask me, guy, what did that happen? I said, I don't know, I just stay down. Do you understand? I just stay down. What I'm trying to say is, I feel depressed. I feel emotionally down. Something had happened, maybe I didn't take note of what had happened, I'll come to that, but in the meantime, something doesn't seem right. This is not the real me. Do you understand? So you can ask, how far your face is looking dull. It's a guy, I don't know, I'm not just a fan. Are you sick? I'm not sick, but something is not right with me. Do you get? So most times, my friends, when they don't see me online after some time, like, Alpha, what's up with you? Those that know me off social media, like, Alpha, we've not seen you around, you've not come around. Like, guy, I'm having to process a lot at the moment. At that point, most times, I'm already sliding into depression. Sometimes it is the early phases of depression. So often at times, it separates you from your social activity, from those social cultural things you do. It separates you from your relationships, and you begin to make excuses and tell yourself stories like, they don't understand me. I am going through a lot. They will not understand what I am going through. So it becomes you, and you feel like they won't get it. So you begin to withdraw. The process of withdrawing, you don't get what is happening to you, but you are depressed. But you don't get the message yet. Do you get? So that's one way I think people can know they are depressed. The other ways depend on personality type. People can cry their eyes out. I don't get to cry. They just start crying. But something might happen. Cry. Sometimes depression can come from seasons of processing grief.
Okay, what about if it's that kind of person that is always, from beginning, is always isolated, they don't like uh, relating with other people, it's someone that is not social.
The key word for me again and again is emotions.
Okay.
Okay, I've met people based on their temperament types. People are choleric like myself, who is more work oriented. So often at times, work can be an excuse for depression. I can just get engrossed in my work and not doing anything.
So definitely, such persons, some of them, their work
Yes.
can be.
So most of the times, what seems to be strength for them becomes the mask they use to mask the depression.
Okay.
Do you understand? So for me, predominantly I'm a choleric. So I'm more into working than connecting with you socially.
Okay.
So often at times, I can sit on that table for hours working, trying to get myself doing things. Sometimes it is me masking my depression. Do you get?
So it's not really because your drive doing that is
It's
not
I want
because
to
you are
work.
serious.
Yes.
It's because
Yes, I'm
you are
masking
trying
that
to.
stuff. Trying to tell myself like I am working.
Okay.
Meanwhile, I'm depressed. So for a person that is often quiet and isolated, that can become a mask they use to mask their depression. And it's often very difficult to spot it for those kind of persons. It's very difficult. And I don't like calling them dangerous people, but I like calling that atmosphere a dangerous atmosphere.
Because it's actually, I can let us, it's dangerous in a way, because I think it's always said that when someone loses this drive of chasing dreams and all that, well, this person is depressed, but it's still like as if, yes, he's putting on the
people
image as
people mask depression. For a person like me, that I tend to be a source of strength for people.
Okay.
You get? So most of the times there are always people, there are counseling to do, there are people to talk to. So it's often difficult for me to open up to people. So do you understand? So people don't believe you are not fine. For a person like me. I'm fine. I need a strength. So you get people call you several.
I like that point. It means being a leader. Sometimes
that's the point.
Being a leader sometimes is dangerous when you are going through some certain things you've talked about is becoming your reality. If you even tell themselves they don't want to believe, they believe you are the offer.
So you can get calls. You can get calls like this. You got 10 calls per day. The 10 calls are people that want you to provide them direction, provide them comfort, and you hardly get someone that asks you, "How are you? Like, how are you doing?" Do you get? So when you come to that space, you can be depressed, and people don't know you are depressed. Do you get? But even in the midst of the emotional downtime, the things you have, I've been through this several times. It's a repeated pattern in my life. Over time, you've gone through this over time. You still show up with the pain, and you still have the responsibility to show up strong. So sometimes, when you are done smiling and giving them everything they need, you go back and you are left alone with yourself, and then you begin to pour it all out there. Do you get? There is really no one that, it's not like there is no one, but the way the society has made you look, they made you look like, guy, if you say you are weak, who then is going to strengthen those who are weak? Do you get? So you have to mask your weakness. Do you get? With smile, you have to put on that mask. So you can finish crying now, then get up, put on the pancake, dust your face, comb your hair, look so smart, look so happy and joyful. You come out, you strengthen the weak, you tame those who think they are strong, provide direction for those who think they are confused. When you get back, you are looking at yourself like, how far? So who is going to help me? So for people like the question you asked now, for people who are by default quiet and maybe that sometimes they're melancholic in nature, they're secretive, they're into themselves, they're phlegmatic in nature. How do they know they are depressed? Only them know they are depressed. Do you get? And if they don't tell you, except of course, you've come to a point where you can relate with them with empathy, where you have earned or they have earned your trust to communicate to you. They are often very secretive people. So they have to earn your trust. So there's a secret folder in their heart that you have to be able to break into the secret folder with time. If you've been able to break into their secret folder with time, you can tell when this person is depressed or not. The most quiet of person is only quiet when they are not in their safe space. When they come to their safe place, you wonder, not you quiet just not for outside. How come you are so joyful here?
Wow.
So those outside don't spot they are depressed. But those who have come to love them and earn their trust can tell they are depressed.
Yes.
Do you get? So when they begin to act weird in their safe space, you know something is wrong with them. Do you get? So those outside might not spot it. Because often at times when they come outside, they are quiet to themselves.
I like that point. When they begin to act weird in their
safe space, just know that something is wrong.
Oh.
I know you're often quiet, but around me you are jovial. What has gone wrong lately? Do you get? And often at times, I always pray for such people that God should give them people that can relate with them with empathy, that understand the uniqueness of their personality and their journey. Because you can just preach as I mean, that's so she always behave. It's a dangerous thing to say to them. Do you get? Now, so she's always very, very moody. She's not always very, very moody. Just that you have not earned the right to see her joyful and happy.
Oh.
Do you get? But if you have earned that right to see her joyful and happy, you now have a responsibility to look at her and say, you are not the person I used to know. Outsiders think you are gloomy and but me and you know that you're not like that. What is happening to you, sis? Then they begin to open up. But otherwise, you outside that just view from a distance, it's difficult to tell. But when you come close, you can easily tell something is wrong with this person. Do you get?
Okay, now you along the line when you are trying to talk about to know those that are not social, to know if they are depressed, you dived into let me say you digress into the part that you talked about. This reality is common with leadership.
Yes.
Now with leadership, you know, they will tell you as a leader, don't show your weakness to your follower. Now if a leader is depressed, how can that leader handle it? Because there's a saying that don't show your weakness to your followers. So now the leader is depressed. How can the followership knows that this person is depressed? And how can that leader deal with his or her depression?
Okay, I will share a couple of things, but before I really delve into it, I want to point out something. I understand that people say don't show your weakness to your followers as leaders. I don't subscribe to that school of thought. Do you get? So even though people say don't show your weaknesses to people as a leader, you have to be strong for them. I don't totally subscribe to that school of thought.
Okay.
Somebody say, lean on me, not me saying you fall press me.
Okay.
Do you understand? So I said that to say I've come to a point in my leadership journey that I have come to embrace vulnerability. Some people think that being vulnerable for leaders is weakness, but I think it's my biggest strength. Because I'm able to say what I am feeling, how I am feeling what I am feeling, and I don't fear you are going to judge me. If you judge me because I'm vulnerable, the problem is not me, the problem is you. I'm first a man before I am a leader.
Okay.
So, can we have respect for my humanity before we begin to talk about my office? Because the man makes the office does not make the man. I am only a leader because I am a man. And as a man, I have the privilege of being weak. Why deny me my privilege of weakness? Because I am a leader. Why deny me this amazing opportunity to express my weakness? Because I am a leader. Why? Can't we come to a point where I can say, this is how I feel right now, and you don't judge me for it? A lot of leaders, not just leaders now, a lot of people who people look up to for direction, for mentorship, have come to that space where they cry when they are alone, they wet the pillow at night, they toss to and fro in the bed, and there is a lot going on in their mind. Yet, there is nobody to talk to. Not because there is nobody to talk to, but because society has said, show us your strength, not your weakness. But part of leadership is my weakness. So you have to be able to learn from my weaknesses, even as you draw strength from my strengths. So it's an holistic approach. There is nothing to hide. It's more like being naked and not ashamed. I took this cue from Jesus. He got to a point. There were people gathered around, and my Jesus wept. He didn't say I am Jesus. and the savior of the world, I should not cry. He had lost a friend who had died for 4 days. So he came, in fact, when they told him the story, most likely maybe he didn't feel the emotion that moment. But at some side of Lazarus, he began to feel the emotion. And the Bible said they wept before the public. My brother, I made up my mind that before the people I'm leading, I will weep many times. I will not weep. I'm not weeping because I want to show them that I'm girlish. I'm weeping because I have to show them that I am human. And they have to connect to that humanity in me, not just my superpower. When people begin to connect to superpower, be careful. You are raising people. You are raising, as a leader, when you allow people connect to the superpower, what you are raising is a set of people who work like robots. So people begin to lead people and they don't understand emotional dynamics. How can you be sleeping on duty? Because you've raised a man that thinks like a robot. So the followers can be downcasted. And he's not even able to spot that this person is depressed. Because the person that raised him made him believe like, you have to be strong. So he never saw you cry once. So when he's leading his own folks, he will not cry. And there's higher expectations, he doesn't expect them to cry. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So the cycle goes on and on. So somebody has to stand up and break the cycle. So I choose to be the person that breaks the cycle. Let them see me cry as much as they see me laugh. Do you understand? So they begin to draw strength, draw lesson, because I believe that there are no loose ends, no experience is a waste. If I come up to you today as a follower and say, I feel weak, this is why I feel weak. Don't worry, this is what I will do to be fine. What I have done to you, I have programmed you to know that weakness is not bad. Do you understand? This is how I begin to process my weaknesses. And another thing for leaders, I think leaders can do, leaders have to mentor leaders. Do you understand?
It means as a leader, you should try to submit under a higher leadership.
Yes, so leaders mentor leaders. Yeah. Just like my small one said, men has okay, it wasn't my small one or TD one of them said, men have to mentor men. Leaders have to mentor leaders. We have to come to a place where we create, I have this thing I want to call inner cycle. Okay. A place where I can entrust my vulnerability without the fear of being judged or criticized. So you have said, don't cry outside. But it didn't stop me. I can still get an inner cycle of people who I can come and say, God, at this point in my life, I'm very weak and downcasted. I need help. You never come to a point where you want to protect your reputation so badly that you are willing to lose your life in a bid to protect your reputation. I say that to mean that most times as leaders, you have custody over a group of people. Yeah. All right. And some, my Smoron said, was it my Smoron? I kept listening, said it, that a leader's sin is a leading sin. A leader's downfall is a leading downfall.
Okay.
So whatever you do as a leader, whether your followers know or not, with time, that reality begins to replicate themselves in their life. So if, for example, as a leader, I fall into immorality, and that leads to depression, how I manage this situation is very important. This is why I said again that leaders have to mentor leaders.
Okay.
Do you get? I might not be able to come out to my people and say, okay, I got to get pregnant out of this is what happened and I'm very sorry. That might cause a dent on what I am building.
Okay.
But is there a father? Is there a leader I can approach and say, this is what has happened in my life. Can you help me? Let's manage this.
Okay.
Do you understand? Instead of, because sometimes the resistance that comes with being leaders, we tend to be proud.
Yeah.
And we think we have a lot to protect. But really, what do you have to protect? What do you have to protect? So leaders have to realize that depression is real, especially when you are trying to, it's even more difficult when you are trying to protect a name. So the thing is not the sin I committed. The thing most times that brings depression is what will people say when they get to know that I did this. Do you understand?
Okay. What will people get to say
when they know I got this?
Okay.
Not how do I make restitution? How do I repent? It's what will people say? So in a bit to do what will people say, we are clouded with so much emotions. But if we are just choosing the other part of I need to repent from this act, it would have been more easier for us navigating that season of our life. And again, we have to have trusted figures we talk to.
As leaders, we have to, at some point, show our weaknesses when it's necessary,
Yeah.
not at every time. You know, the way you said it now, if not stated very well, some persons as leaders that are weak as leaders, they want to take it as advantage.
As an advantage, yes.
Okay, yes, look at the reason why I'm weak. Are you not seeing I'm a human? We have the cow dimension, we have the you understand? So this should not be an excuse for your foolishness.
Yeah.
But I think so at some point let them know you are human and they can be victim of what you are going through, but the way they handle it, that is what matters. You know, there's this common word we usually use whenever we go for evangelism, but we Christians, we use this word because we feel is a well strategized word to use whenever you are going for evangelism or speaking to someone about Jesus. What will Jesus do if he was to be in your shoe?
Yeah.
Are you getting it now? So we are trying to tell these people that if Jesus happened to be a human, in his point of weakness, would Jesus have cried or not? Are you getting it?
Yes.
So would Jesus have behaved very strong as if nothing is happening or not? Are you getting that part?
I think people have to understand that happiness is not holier than sadness.
Can you come again?
I think people have to understand that happiness is not holier than sadness.
Okay.
God has created space for both of them.
Okay.
Do you understand? So you can both experience joy and experience sadness. Even the Bible said weeping will endure for a night. So there'll be times of weeping.
Okay.
But then we have a guarantee that joy will come in the morning. So while you yet weep, can you just see that as a season to be enjoyed and just go with the flow? You are not unholy because you are weeping. You are not weak because you are weeping. As a matter of fact, it takes a level of strength to cry. It takes a level of strength to be really vulnerable and cry. It just matters where you are entrusting that vulnerability to.
Okay.
It matters who sees you crying.
That is a nice answer to this question. But going further, I still have some other question here to ask regarding this issue, depression. You've talked about how we can know different persons with different nature and in place of leadership, how you can know if they are depressed and all that and all that. But now I want to ask, how can you deal with depression? How can you deal with depression? Because you know, when you are going through depression, the first person to know sometimes might be those close to you. Sometimes it might be you yourself. So now, in the cases that it happens to be that you yourself, you know you are going through this thing because it's something you've experienced severally. So how can you deal with depression?
Okay. In emotional intelligence, we try not to label any emotion as bad. Depression is an emotion. But when I feel depression, I don't try to label that this feeling is bad. So you have to first admit that what you are feeling is not bad per se. I use that word bad per se.
Okay, you mean depression is not bad?
It's not bad.
Wow.
I know that will come as a shock. But let me say it again. Let me say it with my full chest. Depression is not bad. It's an emotion. And emotions basically are like envelopes.
Okay.
They are carrying a message.
Okay.
I have a pack here. I don't want to do advert for these people. But, okay, let me use this part of the pack. This is a pack. Let's say this is the envelope. And label on this envelope is depression. It can be depression. It can be anger.
Okay.
You understand? It can be grief. We don't say this envelope is bad, it's bad, it's bad when you've not seen the content. You see what we do most time? We label the envelope, but we fail to open the envelope to see what is inside. So depression is like an envelope that contains a message.
Okay.
So when I feel depressed, that emotion came like an envelope carrying a message. The question is, what is this emotion telling me? For example, if I feel very angry and I'm shouting, don't say you're a bad person, you have anger. The thing could be, I feel threatened, so I shout. So you don't attack the feeling, you attack why I felt threatened and shouted. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So if I say I'm depressed, it could be that that envelope, inside that envelope, if I'm able to unravel that envelope, I then see that maybe the message it contains is someone I care about is missing. I feel misunderstood. I feel judged. It could be these messages. Or love is distant. So if I'm able to interpret this message that this envelope contains, I'm one step closer towards solving what I feel. So if paravention, what that emotion tells me that moment is love is distant, I start asking myself, who, where, and how have I received love in the past that seems to be absent now?
Okay.
That is responsible for this feeling. You see, this is me processing it. This is why it is called emotional intelligence. The intelligence you bring to the emotion. Do you understand?
So now, depression is not actually bad, but in cases we've seen depression has killed a lot of persons, depression has caused harm to so many persons. But now you are opening my eyes to see that it's not actually bad. It might be an incident or experience in your life to open you to change or
yes,
a new
exactly.
phase.
You are getting it.
But because many a times we don't seem to see what is coming before us, so we take them to be maybe we are.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have this feeling that you are useless, you are worthless.
So you dwell. You begin to dwell on the emotion. You hit on the emotion. Begin to dwell there. I feel worthless. I feel useless. As those things begin to come, what it begins to do to you, that feeling, it begins to separate you more and distance you more from where could be your safe haven. That's what it begins. Why it does that to you? This is the mystery behind when they said, the American Psychological Association said 4 out of every 10 suicide cases due to depression. That's 4 out of every 10 persons that commit suicide is linked to being depressed. Why this thing begin to, at the early phases, you should have been able to interpret the message and understood what the message is and provide the solution. But most times people are unable to see the message, so they dwell on the envelope and keep squeezing it, and they keep distancing them from people that should have helped them. And this is the stuff with suicide. It's liberation depression to separate you from anything that could possibly be a source of comfort to you. Suicide is not, and I'm talking about suicide is not that strong. It's a bully. If you give him one blow, he's going to shift away. So what it does, it uses depression to separate you from those who can give him that blow. Do you understand? So when it has isolated you, it then strikes.
Okay.
So when it strikes, there is nobody around to provide that sense of comfort. So all the days and weeks, that's why you must be very careful. All the days and weeks you've been battling with depression, that is a spirit trying to isolate you so it can destroy you. So some people not even take pride in being depressed. That's my problem. They begin to tell themselves a story. They will not understand if I say this thing. But you've not said it. How did you arrive at not understand?
So you mean because when I was having same podcast with the teenagers, one of them said depression is not of God, it's of the devil. So why should you be depressed? Now you are opening my eyes now that depression can definitely be of God to show you another phase of your life. But sometimes if you are not careful, the devil can lay hold of that weakness and start speaking things to you.
About the story of Jonah in the Bible.
Jonah, yes. You just give us the.
After the whole incidents of go and preach to Nineveh, he said, I will not go. And he was trying to run away from God. Then the whole way swallowing him, then dumping him at the bank of the river in Nineveh.
Yeah.
And then he went to preach. And then there was that tree that provided the shade for him.
Yeah.
Then he was complaining. Then suddenly the tree began to fade away, and Jonah was sad and everything. That in the midst of that sadness and everything, God came and spoke to him. He needed to be in that state to get the message. Do you understand? He needed to be in that state to get the message. So I don't want to label it as it is from the devil. Do you get? You see, the season I experienced a drastic change in my life was 2017. I believe God does not make bad things happen to us. Basically, I have to say that.
Yeah.
But He takes advantage of everything in our life to train us. That's why the Bible said, for we know that all things work together for good, for those that love God and are called according to his purpose. The depression I experienced in 2017 that led me to my suicide escapade, and people don't really know this, but I missed PVC gum, Sniper and PVC gum, and I drank it due to depression.
Wow.
But
we would like to have that section in the studio here.
But on that day, Death went on vacation. I was really depressed. I don't want to call the name of the ministry now. I left the room of suicide that Sunday morning. People had gone to church with tears in my eyes. I can't remember that. I just walked into the church and they were singing a very powerful song. No shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. You needed to see me crying like a baby. In that state, I felt somebody touched me. The touch I felt was the touch of the Father.
Wow.
Do you understand? And that was where that point of my life it's what kickstarts everything I think I'm doing now. Do you understand? So I had to go through that to become who I am becoming today. Do you understand? And at that point in my life, I didn't understand the whole message in depression. But you see, God took advantage of an ugly situation and turned it around for my good. So I need Christians to process their grief, their depression, their emotion differently. You don't process it outside of God.
Okay.
Do you understand? You don't process your grief outside of God. I've seen people say, why will good things happen to bad people? Then they begin to distance themselves from God. It's a very wrong thing to do. You are sick. And the person that is sick needs a doctor. But because he works in the hospital and maybe the doctor is not on seat, say I don't need the doctor anymore and he goes to the mechanic. Eventually you are going to die.
Yeah.
You see the whole problem now. So this is what happens when we begin to process our grief and our depression outside of God. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So that is exactly what happened. Again, back to what we were saying. I do not subscribe to the school of thoughts that say depression is bad. I only say depression is an envelope that carries a message. Your ability to interpret and understand that message will determine if you are going to come out from that place quickly or you are going to remain there. Do you understand? So for everyone who had died due to depression, painfully, it could be because they did not understand the message the emotion was communicating. You are not worthless. It might be that you don't feel loved. So the question is, how can I get love? Where can I get love? You take responsibility for that. Do you understand? And often at times what I've seen is that people who are depressed cannot process this effectively. So most times they need a guide to help them process this. Do you get?
Yeah.
So that's why as leaders, as humans, we must relate with people with empathy. Walk the road wearing their shoes. I've come to places where you see people downcasted and people don't seem to take cognizance of what is happening to them. It's normal, you just walk and pass. So we have to as human beings, as we move about our daily activity, partner with empathy and look at people beyond the smiles and look into their face and see into their soul.
Yeah.
And be able to help them process their grief sometimes. Be able to look at them and say like, how are you? No, somebody says, people will just say fine. A friend of mine said, when you ask somebody how are you and they just say fine and just end there. Say the word fine there means feelings inside, not expressed.
Feelings
inside, not expressed.
Fine. Feeling inside, not expressed. I believe you heard that.
Yeah.
A word for fine. No, sometimes when people tell you I'm fine, they just end there. It means feelings inside not expressed. I love that one.
So your ability as somebody laced with empathy to look beyond them and say, like, how many percent fine are you? Try to push. Have you eaten today? Sometimes instead of asking them how are you doing, ask them what happened today. You are trying to get information.
Yeah.
Sometimes we are not careful. We just say, how are you? It's a cliche, fine. What happened today? When I was coming, this happened. They are bringing you into their world. So you are then able to see correctly what they might be going through without them even saying it. The question is, we don't know how to communicate and engage with empathy. We just want to do the cliche communication. I ask her, say how you do, you say you did fine. Have you heard that thing? Not be you ask how you did, you just say you did fine. No, you don't do that. Sometimes there are people I don't ask how are you, because I know I'm going to get fine as a response, and that closes the conversation. So I asked them, tell me what happened today. So they begin to talk sometimes. Maybe they drop 1 or 2 hints somewhere. I want to dwell on that hint. At the bus station, this thing happened. How did this thing make you feel? You know, when I was about to enter the KK, the man just shouts at me and say, I'm a useless girl. A casual person would just say, I bet he's a useless man, leave him alone. No. You that is intelligent will ask the lady, he said you are a useless girl. How did that make you feel? Start hearing, I feel worthless, I feel this, I feel that. I just feel like, you say I'm too fat, so I feel like maybe people don't really like me. I feel like I'm not beautiful. You see, the real thing is coming out. That is when we are really having a conversation, a communication. Then I can address how you feel. Because as you feel this now, because the thing is, you begin to think, you feel, and you act. So as you feel this, what did it make you do? What did you do by that general feeling? That's I just went home and sleep. You see now, my duty now is not to attack the action. Why will you go and sleep? Why didn't you shout back? No, my duty now is to attack the thought. He said you are fat, so you begin to think that you are not beautiful. It now made you feel bad. You felt bad, then you begin to act. You went to go and sleep. Let's come back to the thought. So he said you are fat. Did the Bible not say you should occupy till I come? You occupy till it comes. Why are you? So why are you? You see, when you attack the thought, you see now you smile. He or she begin to smile. The feeling. It affects the action they take. So he or she will not go home to sleep. They will go about their day with a thought that I'm beautifully and wonderfully made. You see the whole beauty of it now. So most of the time, that is what I look out for in my conversation with my very close friends. So I want to attack the thoughts, and it changes the feeling and affects how they act.
Now, the next one I'll ask is that, does being depressed mean I'm mentally ill?
Psychology says yes, you are mentally ill. Okay. But I choose to say you are being human and living life. I don't want to tagging it mental illness. There's a point where it gets to, and you really need to see a psychologist, a therapist rather. You really need that mental therapy session. Yes, mental illness is real. Mental illness is real. A lot of young persons are mentally ill due to depression.
Bipolar.
Yes, bipolar disorder. It's really real. But how I choose to see it many a times, especially at the earlier phases, is that you are human.
Okay.
And you are processing your emotions.
Okay.
What I then try to do is to make sure you don't come to a point where you are totally drowned in depression. Here, bringing your heart may even cause the person trying to bring you out to be depressed. Have you spoken to some people before, and the atmosphere affects your own atmosphere? They are so dull that you now become dull. See, that's where I don't want people to get to. When you get to that point, often at times it is difficult to bring you out. So for me, it's both a mental illness and a state of being human.
And I believe with the words you said, you've answered unanswered questions so many persons have in their mind, going on in their mind. We'll be expecting you in Inside Gospel Hub studio once again. We'd like you to talk about your experience of depression, how you felt, how it makes you feel.
I'll come again and share all of that. Right now I don't want to walk down that path. It's going to be a lot of emotions to process for me, but hopefully I can come back and talk about it.
He has given us a promise, so we are waiting for that one. I'm waiting for that session where we'll come and talk about it, because he said something that struck my heart. He said he took
Sniper.
PVC gun and sniper mixed together. You can see the mixture.
That's the thing. At that point I look at my future. People will say I look at my future, it is bright. I look at my future, nothing was bright.
Nothing was bright.
So what is there to live for? And that is the issue with this thing called depression and suicide. It's zoom the problem in your eyes. There's nothing you can see apart from the problem. So you can look at your future. At that point I was telling my younger brother, I said I look at my future, everywhere dark. Nothing bright.
Like my boy always said, he said Sakpa affect the weather. He said Sakpa affect the weather. So in your time then the weather Sakpa
affected everywhere.
Affected it. And the mission is so critical.
I needed to be fast. I needed to be fast. I needed the jet to be very, very fast. I could not wait to spend on that one more second with the way I was feeling. In fact, I had run out of favor with my parents. My siblings had began to disrespect me. I dragged my family name to the mud. I had no reputation to protect again. It was so bad. It was like a public disgrace. A lot of things were involved. I could not stand up to my immediate family. Not to talk of standing up to people outside. You see the problem? I could not stand up to those who I've shared the same space with. I felt like an outcast. You see what? So I could not bear that feeling again. I could not stand another minute feeling that way. So I felt like, instead of living this way, let's end it. That's what the Spirit always. This is always a smooth path to take. Just transit to glory. Just transit and go on. So I was prepared to I took my bath that morning. If I'm going to die, let me die clean. I was prepared. I missed the stuff. I drank it, and I was expecting death to walk into the room, but it was Father God that walked in. Death didn't come. It was Father God.
It was really walking into glory.
You saw me transit to glory. Glory came to meet me.
You walked into glory. Instead of transiting into glory, glory walked to you.
It's a beautiful.
I think it would be a nice time having that conversation here in the studio. Please do well to subscribe, like, and share this video in order for you to enjoy more content like this. Sir Philip,
yes, sir.
We really enjoy.
The pleasure is mine. I appreciate being here. I enjoyed my time being here.
Thank you sir.
So much. Thank you so much for having me.
Wow, this is a nice one from our guest in the house, Sir Philip. Sir, you did justice to this. You've answered so many unanswered questions in the heart of so many persons going through this state we call depression. He just said depression is not something bad, but if you can see it from the lens the Lord wants you to see it from, it will be a lifesaver to you, and it will be a game changer to you. We talked about the issue of Jonah, who was depressed, who fell into a state where he was depressed. We call it depression because the feeling he had, he has to feel unhappy, and he was angry, but the aim of the Lord was to let him live where he was spotting, to go to Nineveh. So many persons, your condition might be God is wanting you to live where you are, to go to where He wants you to be, but we've lived deaf ear to it. You know, depression, you just said, is not bad. It's just like a tool in the hands of the devil will become a massive tool of destruction. That same tool in the hands of God or in the hands of a believer, well trained by God, it will be a weapon of restoration to the body of Christ. So depression is a tool. It depends on how you make use of it. Sometimes if you see it from the lens the Lord wants you to see it from, it will do you more good and bring you to another dimension in your life or in your career. But if you see it from the lens the devil wants you to see it from, it will bring you to the press of suicidal thoughts and all that. I urge you to keep following us on Inside Gospel. We'll be bringing amazing content to your will like this. We'll be bringing content about God, about things going on in the societies, within youth, teenagers, a lot of things. Please do well. If you've not subscribed, subscribe to our channel. Click the notification bell so that anytime we post any new content, you'll be the first to get the notification and know about it. God bless you. Thank you, Sir Philip, for being with us in the studio today. We really appreciate it. God bless you. Once again,
depression is real. It creeps in silently and breaks your defense and confidence, rendering you hopeless and helpless. I felt unstable, unaccepted, and hidden. I felt locked in the dark, unaware of the happenings. I felt completely unhappy. I felt lost in isolation. I felt mortified. Nothing excites me. I just wished for death. I resorted to pills, find solace in alcohol and drugs. I tried taking my life on different occasions. I couldn't snap out of it, but fell into the embrace of insomnia. The nation remained same, but then I changed. I became scared of the unknown. I began to believe in mysteries, and my heart raced as the time ticks. Is it just me? Am I all left alone? So that I began to question my essence in this world. I felt the world was against me. I teared deeply and felt all alone. Sat down, wondering how did I get here? Where did it all start from? I wished to know. It was just so hard to deal with life stress and conflict. My heart dejected, rejected, and broken into pieces. I got lost in my thoughts and I tried to figure it all out. But all road led to the desert, where I test and hunger for genuine love and acceptance, where my mind gets beautiful imaginations and not reality, where I created beautiful memories but felt abandoned. I stopped appreciating nature. I felt the world was cruel and tough. I felt my life was a failure. With all the ups and downs, struggling to get to the top, paving my way to success, and just like a dream, everything I made my hard work and everything I cherished just crumbled. Who will be weak when the ones you call your family, friends, loved ones, and even your spouse stop giving you attention? My courage, strength, and dignity lose their values. Who wouldn't cry? Who wouldn't break down? Who wouldn't feel intimidated? Who wouldn't want to just disappear and remain unseen? Whose heart wouldn't be fragile? Depression is real. It is so real, and it ate deep into my being. And I almost lost it. But then you know what? I came out of it. I came out strong. Dear, are you facing depression? You too can come out of it just the way I did. But then you need to decide from within. You need to choose life over death. You need to express yourself and how you feel. You need to seek for medical attention and love yourself. You need to let the medical practitioners help you. I need you to know that you're worth living this gracious life. And someone said, your mind is everything. If you get your mind right, surely you will get your life right. Don't doubt. You will come out relentless, graceful, and endowed with more strength to better days. Just like I did. Now I am powerful. I am majestic. I am impeccable. I am dynamic. I am resilient. I am purposeful. I am great. I am alive and beautiful. I choose life. I choose to live each and every moment, one step at a time, one day at a time. I will no longer run from my fears, but I will face them and triumph.
No, it's not that I don't believe it when you say that you want me to. But I've gotten so little love and known so many loss. I've had too many breakfasts, I don't think that this poor heart can stomach anymore. And yes, I might be good for you, but I don't think that I'll be good to you, because whenever you're in my arms, all I can see is you walking away from this poor lad. This boy had all the joy you could ever want in a man, but I guess we all grow up to be more like the people we hated. And maybe I hate it. So before I mess this up later, how about I save us the time with this letter? Because I can never be the man that you deserve. At least not now. Yeah.
It was a memorable journey walking down the aisle. I still remember. And I had no choice but to bless him with what made me unique. I entrusted my heart to get entangled with his forever. I live and dwell in him as his heartbeat. Our love was worth emulating, so lovely to dream and pray for. It was so perfect and beautiful. There I was, enjoying the beautiful fairy tale. But suddenly, he turned into the worst nightmare. Where we missed it, I couldn't fathom. I tried talking to him, but no. He shunned me down, slammed the door, walked away with no apology. I watched as our love was colder. I watched him slip off my hands. I watched him wash me off his priority. I watched as he erased my name from his heart. I watched him doing countless of things without involving me. I watched as our love drowned in the ocean of hate. I watched all of this, but couldn't do anything. We died from the place of silence. We live like roommates, but not playmates. We build a mighty wall that bridges us from getting closer. We fight at every little thing that brings us together. We let anger rule our world. And then I paused and thought about the whole scene, wondering what changed in the script and who is this strange writer in our lives. Adultery is the sin that keeps a home from the edge of protection, for it is naked. And then I saw that the seal of my marriage was broken. And then I saw a lady dressed up coming to steal and to destroy. And then I saw her sowing wrong seeds in my home. And then I remembered that the battle is not for the weak, but the strong. And then I remembered that my weapons are not carnal, but mighty through God, pulling down strongholds. And then I remembered that I am his legal wife. And my ways in the battle of prayer over my husband will stand greatly. And then I was reassured that God will honor my needs. And then I prayed like never before. And God did answer, saying, your home has been restored. Oh yes, my home was restored. But then it took more than that to win him over. But then that was my first priority, which is prayer. Of course, it was my first bus stop. I employed wisdom to the equation. I reobserved the geography of his heart and retraced my step. I discovered that I knew him more than anyone on earth, for we are one. And then I created the site and strived for bonding. Did more appreciation than education, more celebration than crucifixion, more inspiration than investigation. And then I became intentional about my looks, leaving him in aware. I made him my priority even when I wasn't his reality. I refused to nag at every step he took just to push me to the wall. I preached more love by my actions even when he doesn't deserve it. And finally, victory became mine and the stranger dumped. Oh yes, I laughed in victory, for the stranger was dumped. My family is my home. My home is my responsibility and ministry. So I won't let any fraternity to destroy my reality. It takes one to be a fool just to get it right. But you see, that foolishness was the wisdom I needed to build my home. I am a builder. God bless you.
I want to die. Yes, I want to kill myself because nobody cares to listen to me. Nobody wants to hear what I'm going through. I'm even more than those that are sick. Yes, I'm not sick. I want to die. Let me die. Since nobody wants to hear what my dream is all about, and even if I want to go to my dream, there is no finance for it. No finance anywhere. Let me die. It looks like a joke, right? More like a comedy to you guys. But it's real. I know someone watching me right now is going through same, and we are here for the remedy. Depression is real. This week on Inside Gospel Hub, we will be dealing with depression, the remedies and how we can deal with it. Maybe the causes as well. So please stay tuned and don't miss this amazing episode of Depression.
Hey there, are you a gospel writer, a teacher, or a motivational speaker, but you've remained unheard and unseen? Are you looking for opportunities to be a blessing and a soul lifter to others? Yes? Then follow and contact us at Inside Gospel Hub. Here we'll help bring your desires and imagination of helping others through God's word into a reality. We'll help tell your stories through photography, through writing, audio and visual messages. Here at Inside Gospel Hub, we bring illumination through God's word.